Howdy, welcome back to Dion Talk. I'm playing with technology, so bear with me. A couple of housekeeping things really quick. First, I need to figure out who won the audiobook from last week. And I have to make sure my sound is on. So I'll take care of that in this video. I have live streams every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific, where the goal of my channel is to help the average individual realize that you can reach financial freedom in 10 years or less, even if you're not starting from the best position. Once a month, I have a live meetup that I go to. So one of my Tuesdays is short. This is going to be a short one. I was invited to a local REI meetup to present on financial freedom tonight. So this will be about a 45-minute video. So I'm hoping we can cover as many questions as possible in that 45 minutes. And I will put my email in the chat because any questions I don't get to, you're always welcome to send me. This market shift is what I want to cover to give you a couple of moments to get your questions into the comments. I do try to get to everyone. And like I said, normally these go like 3 hours, that I go as long as the questions keep coming in. So for about 2 years, really for like 10 years, the market's been in an upswing. Since around 2013, people have been saying there has to be a crash or a correction because, and there's been a reason every single year. And Michael Zuber actually printed out a list of reasons, and I read them off in a previous live stream. Every single year, there was a reason that a crash or a correction was coming. And it was a good excuse to not take action, to not buy properties. And had I listened to most of the people on YouTube, I would still have to work. But since I bought one rental at a time and every couple of years added another stream of income, I was able to go from a really bad position into quitting my job a couple of weeks ago. I think it's coming up on a month here pretty soon. Although technically today was my first actual retired day. Up until now, it's been that transition of, I announced my retirement and then I had to hand off a bunch of things. But as of yesterday, I'm no longer on the books with that company. So this was my first day of retirement, which consisted of more meetings than probably the last month of work did. So for 10 years, we've had different reasons not to buy and sell until 2020. In 2020, supply, it started to become apparent that supply was almost decimated. And a lot of people in 2020 hadn't really realized yet that the number of homes built per decade was according to a chart, massive every 10 years, except for the last 10 years, it was a fraction of what we normally build. So new builds are down. Demand went extremely high because with the pandemic, we had basically helicopter money. You had people on unemployment making close to twice what they were while they were working. Here in Washington State, where I invest, the average person on unemployment was making about $75,000 a year to be on unemployment. So the companies that were shut down, people had an income increase. Then you had stimulus, extra unemployment, extended unemployment. But to stimulate the economy, for the first time in decades, we saw interest rates drop so low that they were the lowest historically that I actually remember. So really low interest rates increases buyer demand. It's a lot easier to find a cash flowing deal or to find a house you can afford because home buyers buy on payment, investors buy on yield, flippers buy and perform really well when a market is on an uptrend. And then wholesalers were performing really well because flippers and people doing the burr who were making mistakes and causing delays in their process would actually do really well because the longer it took them, the more money they ended up making. So for 2 years now, since 2020, we've had a very strong seller's market. You would have multiple offers on a property. And in 2021, you would have people waiving contingencies, offering much over asking. Speed was your friend. You had to make an offer in my market in hours. So my lenders and my agents knew that when I found something that excited me, I would be email, I'd wait a few minutes, text, I'd wait a few minutes, call. So by 15 minutes into finding something, I'm trying to make a phone call to them. And if the agent or the lender wasn't fast enough, then I was on to the next lender and agent. Speed was the most important thing because some sellers were selling and they didn't know what they had. They possibly purchased their property 20, 30 years ago and had it long enough to have it paid off, and they can't believe the numbers their listing agents are quoting, saying you're probably going to get this much for your property. So if you got an offer in fast enough before they realized that they were Bella of the ball and we're going to have all these offers coming in over asking, waiving contingencies, it was sometimes possible to get a deal under contract before the seller realized what they had. Now there's a shift, and there's a lag to it, because most of the data that investors and news sources talk about are from, we can close out last month and say, here's what happened. When interest rates change kind of daily, your power to buy changes with those interest rates. So we have sellers hearing, our neighbor just sold their house for $700,000. So I'm going to list mine at 720 because we're on an upswing. Properties have been going up for a decade. Well, the interest rate changes hit between that property going under contract with a locked-in interest rate and them closing. So they've closed after their buying power went away. And now the seller's trying to sell, to list to people who don't have that buying power. A recognizable percentage of buyers have gone away because they've lost the ability to qualify for the houses they want. Investors, when prices are still high and interest rates are still high and you haven't included the time factor, it's really hard to find that yield you're looking for. So buyer demand has gone away. So we literally had a decade of kind of a balanced market on an upswing. And then the last 2 years, the pendulum swung really far to the seller's side. There were people offering to name their kids after the seller if they were the one they chose to go with, and they didn't get the house. I don't know if it was the creep factor or someone else just outbid them, but they didn't even get it. To now, we have the first time where we actually can tell if we're talking to a motivated seller. For the last 2 years, you couldn't. A property would go on the market and under contract or under contract off market so fast that there was no real metric to tell if that was a motivated seller or just somebody who thought, they told me I'm going to make so much money, I might as well sell my property. So they had a wish list price out there, and if they got it, they sold. So for 2 years, it would go so quick that it might be that person. It might be the person who has to sell, who had a death in the family, a divorce, moved away, change in jobs, a growth in the family. So something that changed, a major life event to where they have to sell this property. They look the same because they were under contract in hours, if maybe a day. Now properties are sitting on the market longer. This is the one metric we can use to tell if that is a motivated seller or somebody who's just, for enough money, I'd sell my property. So the motivated seller, when you see a property listed long enough, and you have to figure out what was average days on market in your area. In my area, I think the average days on market was like 3. I say it was within hours because the deals that were good enough that met my metric were gone that fast. So there might be some other ones that were overpriced, needed too much work in the wrong area, where it ticked up the days on market. Find out what average days on market in your area was for the last few months. Watch for properties that are on longer, 2 or 3 times as long as what was normal. So Michael Zuber from One Rental at a Time is actually not looking at anything that hasn't been on the market for at least 30 days. His search literally just doesn't show him anything that wasn't there for a month. In my market, I'm looking at 10 days or older. I still look at everything, but I start to like categorize that as a property to look at once it hits 10 days. Now, there's 3 things that affect yield. If you're watching my content, I'm hoping that you are an investor, and that's who I'm trying to reach, is the average person who wants to either get into investing or get your next deal. We need to know area average rents. So you should be looking at, and I did a live stream recently on how to find your area average rents. So you want to go to, you don't want to look at Rentometer. That's dated history. It's historical data that's dated and about 30% low in my area. But I looked at Redfin, Zillow, apartments.com, all the different platforms where it was like you were actually trying to rent a place. Figure out area average rents and track it for a few days, if not a week or longer, and understand that's a moving target, right? Rents from last month don't tell you what rents are this month. They can flatline. They can go up. You need to know currently what they are. Talk to your lender for the second thing of the 3 on rates. Rates change often. Rates don't change when the Fed changes. Rates change based on lender fear. So they lend on margin. So if your interest rate in the 80s was 18% and your interest rate last year was 3%, the bank wasn't making 18% off you in the 80s. The Fed was lending money to banks at 15% and the banks were lending it at 18. And last year, the Fed was lending it at 0. and banks were lending it at 3. So earlier this year, right around January, February, the Fed talked about raising interest rates, and interest rates on mortgages went up. Then the Fed raised interest rates, actually confirming the fact that they weren't just talking about raising rates. Then some lenders brought their rates back down, which confused a lot of people. The Fed was still talking about rates going up, but remember, they lend on margin. So they raised it because the Fed was talking about raising it. Then the Fed raised it. Then they raised it. The banks raised it some more. So there was this big gap, and it's competition. Banks are competitive. You have credit unions, local small banks, large banks. So some of the banks are compressing their margin to try to, get your business. So there was a time a few weeks ago, maybe a month, when rates were still on the rise for the Fed, but banks had lowered them. So now, if you know rents, rates, price, in the last 2 years, when we had the listing agent was the most important person, and they can get all the business with no problem. So the golden nugget to get as a real estate agent was somebody who wanted to sell a house. Like, that was your leads. You needed leads for people who want to sell because it was easy to sell. Now we've shifted over to, we're not quite in a buyer's market yet. We don't have enough supply to even make it a balanced market, but we shifted so fast that sellers aren't used to the way the data is being presented. They were thinking, I'm going to get over my list price offers. People are going to waive contingencies. I'm going to have to pick and choose, and they put it on the market, and then it's crickets. Nothing comes in. So sellers aren't quite panic mode, but this is where you, in this shifting market, can watch for an increase in days in market, ignore the list price, and actually make an offer at the price that makes sense to you. And if you're not embarrassed by your offer, you're offering too much. I would offer more. So that's the shift in the market from the last decade to the last 2 years, which makes me more excited about the next 2 years than I was about the last 2 years, even though in the last 2 years, I bought 3 properties. Well, there's more than that now. 4-plex in 2020, like January, triplex in November 2020, duplex in May of 2021, looking to buy the next place now. I'm going to get to the hellos and the questions, and I'm going to try to get through as many as I can because, like I said, I have a hard stop today at 4:45 because I have to make it to a live presentation for let me get the name right. It's an Olympia REI group. Let's see if I can find it. Probably not. No. That's unfortunate. It's a private group. I tried to share, like in a Tacoma Phi group that I put together, that, I was going to this, but it's a private group, so I couldn't share. I need a 10-year-old to help me learn technology. PJ, howdy. Finally started installing the drywall in your future rental. So gratifying to see all the hard work starting to come together. Finally, can't tell you how many times I've wanted to give up. It's worth it. The videos you, Matt, the lumberjack landlord, and Michael Zuber from One Rental at a Time put out have helped me mentally so much I can't even explain it. One of the things that I do with my content is I usually try to talk about the bad position I was in. A lot of debt, not a lot of income, single parent, 3 kids, and where I am now. But I'd like to highlight the where I am now with quit a job, walk away from a couple $1 million in golden handcuffs, and not care, because it was a bad position to hear, but there are people who are going to have a lot more challenges than I did. My goal was 1 rental every couple of years. I figured in 10 years, I'd have 5. It sped up a lot towards the end, so it went a lot quicker. But I buy rent ready or already occupied properties. And so I've literally had very few challenges in my years of investing. So there's going to be people like you who go, this is a lot of work. You probably have delay in materials. You probably have contractor issues, subcontractor issues, permitting issues. And all of those things seem like a huge hassle to get to the point where this Thursday, I have a video coming out called Multiply Your Time. I think I'm going to do it as a live stream on the slides because I want to get on the slides again. It's been a while. So the joy of being retired, get to make content where you want. Brian, howdy. It is Tuesday already. It flies by. And like I said, first day of actual retirement, I had more stuff to do today. I have a live presentation to do, so I had to get my go juice. And I see I'm not alone.
I was thinking that monologue was never going to end.
That's what I was thinking too. I even have it like split screen so I can see you pop in here. But this is what I was trying to do with my live stream today. And let's see how this works. So howdy, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing great, Dion. How are you?
So I appreciate you stopping by. I'm trying to get the technology figured out. So the Three Amigos and maybe the Four Musketeers.
Yes.
Unless Millennial Mike had that better name. What was it? The REI Avengers?
REI Avengers. I love it.
So the four of us can get together and do a video. And I'm learning now to watch the tech. YouTube is 30 seconds delayed.
Yes, they are.
That's why I was like, I see him, but I don't see him. This is great. Like I said, I need a 10-year-old to help me with this technology. So let's look. I'm going to get through the howdies really quick, but I want to
go
get
for
to some
it.
Questions. Matt, if you can help with a couple of these questions, that'd be
happy.
Awesome.
Happy to do it. I'm actually going to look and see. I got to get the. I'm going to get the live stream behind me so I can actually see the questions.
Okay.
Or actually on my phone. I'll actually get them on my phone.
That's what I was doing.
Yes, that's what I'm going to do.
There. Yeah. So I want to get this set up so we could do this on Zuber's channel and do a live Graham Stephan reaction.
Yes. All right. I see the questions. I'm ready. Whenever you're ready.
It's Tuesday. Howdy, Brian. Looking forward to the flooring video. So can you, Matt, really quick cover where you get your flooring from? Because my video is going to be very kindergarten simple to the way that you do it.
Okay. Yeah. So American Flooring Corporation. If you call them and say, hey, Lumberjack Landlord sent me, they've been proving to take care of folks really well. We had a point of contact there. He recently left, and so I haven't gotten a new point of contact there, but American Flooring Corporation, their phone number is 725-212-8610. 725-212-8610. They've taken great care of me. I've done about 12,000 square feet of flooring with them. We're using their product. So yeah, so far so good. I've used a lot of different products. What I've found is the quality of their product, perfection. The quality of their product, it saves, it's probably between $1 and $1.50 a square foot, less expensive than the box stores that you buy it at. It's been good quality.
Yeah, so I want to make sure I get that information to put it in my video too. What I've done is I break it down into a couple of tiers. You have Lowe's and Home Depot that have generic lot of, often 2 years later, you can find the same material. So if you're looking for really kind of cheap and not very good, Lowe's and Home Depot are great. I go with a local floor trader, and you look for somebody where basically they have 5,000 to 10,000 square feet that they're calling a remnant.
Yes.
Like they did a huge, massive project and this is what's left over. Sure. So you might not be able to find it in 2 years. That's the threat, but it's usually about half the price, twice the quality.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah, these guys are like that. They actually own the production of it overseas. So they have it shipped over by the container size. And no stores.
Howdy. I missed a question here. Let me see. Brian, Tom. When dealing with Section 8, do you receive payment from Housing Authority or the tenant? Since you are having that fun right now, why don't you answer that question?
So you get it from Section 8 and the tenant. Often Section 8 is going to pay you. It's usually a majority. Sometimes it's all, but often you'll see that the tenant will have some sort of a component to it. So I got one today that was $880 from Section 8 and $227 from the tenant. So that's what it is consistently.
Exactly. So that's why on my spreadsheet, if you want it, I put my email in the chat. Email me and I'll send it to you. It's very kindergarten simple. But I collect rents. Each month has 2 columns. For those times when you have Section 8 and the tenant paying, I can write in the amount, and so I know which ones have paid. I've never had Section 8 check to see if the tenant was paying. So they don't care that the tenant pays. The housing authority is there if they don't pay, that you have someone to go to.
I'm going to pop up for a quick second, Dave.
Okay, that's cool. Thanks for stopping by and seeing if the tech worked.
I'll be back in a minute.
Okay. Glad you're wearing pants. Dividend Dave, howdy. And Angie, howdy. Eli, howdy. Jeremy, Chester, howdy. Heinemann family, howdy. As a self-professed, that's why I actually lifted the shirt of I Hate People, which I got so I could wear it in a Matt video. As a self-professed not people person, can you talk a bit about how you approach meetups and networking? I know it's important, but it's definitely not my thing. Zoom. There are a lot of local meetups that in the last 2 years shifted to an online or a virtual setting. So if your local area goes back to in-person only, look for online ones like the Seattle Investors Club. The Seattle Investors Club sounds like it's Seattle, but there are investors from all over the country that join that every Thursday morning at 11:30. You just go to seattleinvestorsclub.com and you can sign up for free. You can attend the masterminds that they do every Thursday morning at 11:30 Pacific. If you want to watch the repeats, like the recordings of it, then there's a membership that you can join the club, the Seattle Investors Club. So it is a club. That's what I would do. Get it online. I made a local meetup here. And like I said, I'm not much of a people person. I joined the Marine Corps because you're with the Marines, right? But you have tanks and bombs between you and everybody. Got into law enforcement because you have a gun and a badge and a vest between you and everybody. Got into a CDL job because you're in a truck by yourself. Like, I am not a people person. I'm more of an introvert than most of the people I know. Most of my vernacular, my knowledge comes from being an autodidact and listening to every book out there, right? But I like to interact with people who are making their life better. The last 13 years working at the CDL school that I just retired from last month, hardly anybody came to the CDL school and wasn't trying to improve their life. They were getting a CDL to get a better job. They had motivation. So I was dealing with people that were trying to improve their life. Whereas in law enforcement, you basically, whether it's the victim or the suspect, you're dealing with somebody on the worst day of their life. That's why they're talking to a cop. Real estate meetups, you generally find people who are interested in improving their life and improving they're networking just like you. So I think it's worth it to go, because most networking groups are going to have somebody who looks like a social butterfly. They kind of go around and talk to everybody, but that's to get everybody to feel included. First solution, get online, join some of those groups. Second, think of the type of people you interact at local REI meetups, and it might be a better experience than if you're like me. Like, I haven't been in a store in over a decade. If you take Lowe's and Home Depot out, recently I went into the grocery store for the first time in like 10 plus years. Probably the last time I'll do that again for at least another decade. Like, I'm not a regular public people person, but if I'm going to a place where people are focused on a subject and that subject helps them and you can contribute to it or benefit from it, I'm all about that. That's why I would do that. Dawn, howdy. Leo, howdy. From Monterey, California. Kelly, my flooring is 2 weeks late from a flooring company. Should I just buy stock floor from Home Depot next time and use a handyman? So the solution I talked about earlier with flooring was I buy what's in stock, buy what's at the store. A friend recently had countertops and cabinets done, and the countertops were delayed. So buying something that's in stock might be easier, unless you can handle the delay. I don't know that I would buy Lowe's and Home Depot, but I do use a handyman for flooring. Anything that's on the roof and you can get injured, or in the electric panel, that is a licensed professional with that specific type of license. But stuff like flooring that you can do yourself on a weekend, and if you're like me, you're lazy, you have a handyman do it. So,
Ian, you'll never guess what that call was.
Your flooring contractor. No, Section 8.
Even funnier.
Okay.
The house I lost a month ago.
Give me the story.
The house that we got played for a contract. The one that I was going to go visit the guy. I went over there twice, could never hook up with him, could never find him. He was never home. I just got the call. Their deal fell apart. It was an all cash deal. Their deal fell apart. And my agent was just calling me saying, hey, so you'll never guess what phone call I just got.
So half of my deals have been from second position.
Crazy.
Whenever you get outbid, out somethinged,
yes,
and they get the deal, be polite, be cordial, and send that last email that says, awesome, congratulations. I'd like to have my offer still stands if theirs falls through. So you're not saying that's a crap offer, it's going to fall through. You're just saying, think of me if it changes.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that was not my strategy.
generally, probably, I would not guess that would be considered.
Not on this one.
So howdy, Larry. Oh, that's what reminds me I need to do. This is going to be loud. I'm going to mute my sound because this is the Dice of Doom, which I'm going to roll to figure out who won the audiobook. And I have to do the camera in such a way that it doesn't show that I'm not wearing pants. So this does. Pulled it off. Okay. And I want to mute it, which I don't know if I can from here. There we go.
I think that's a 13.
Mandy W. of the 20 names that I wrote down wins an Audible book. My preference is that you take one rental at a time by Michael Zuber in the audiobook form. But if you already have it, it could be another book. Again, I would prefer something like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Set for Life. One of the books like that help you on this kind of investing journey. If you're not interested, any audiobook. So Mandy W, my email's in the chat, reach out to me and I will get that to you.
Mandy W recently closed, I believe, on a duplex and was going through that process, if memory serves.
Nice. It's cool. That's awesome.
It is awesome.
So and then Jeremy, congratulations on your last day of real work. That was yesterday, which is great. Congratulations from Chester. Julie, howdy. I'm trying to sell a rental house to buy another property. It's not selling. It's making me crazy. That is the market shift. That's what this video was about. That was supposed to be 10-minute monologue, which never is. Do you have to sell, Julie? Or are you in that line of this is the price you want? If it sells for that, go for it. If not, leave it on the market or take it off. I think I would only go crazy if you had to sell. LV, teach me. Tom, I received about 93% of rent payment from housing. The funds are deposited each month at the same time. The tenant pays me a different way. And then my chat moved, which is awesome.
Difference directly, yep.
My chat moved a lot. Yep. Okay. How's the market shifting in your area, Matt?
More expensive. It's shifting to more expensive. We open houses, still everything over list. No appreciable inventory build. We added 7 days in the last month. We added 7 days of inventory. So completely, and actually days on market shrank. It went from 17 to 13.
I think I saw you say that on a video with Mike, and I was like, what is causing that? But
it's just nuts.
We have market wide, and then everybody has to understand you have your local market.
Yeah. Real estate is hyper local. So while I enjoy watching crash videos, it is not happening here.
No, I'm seeing inventory pile up in my area. Prices are still stupid.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. No, 20-30% higher than they should be. I did a video with Mike today, basically explaining the math where if we have a 25% crash next year, prices are still higher than they are historically.
Yeah.
And he was surprised I got the math right. Look, I'd use the calculator, but.
Well, I'm also watching Las Vegas, and Las Vegas, the open doors of the world are actually hitting market adjustments they're calling them market adjustments or price reductions. And they are actually selling for $7,000 to $10,000 less on about a $500,000, $600,000 home, less than what they bought it for 3 months ago.
Wow.
So they are now actually taking losses.
Right. They're like the canary in the cave though, right?
Yep. Canary in the coal mine. Yes, sir.
There you go. Aaron, howdy from Corpus Christi. Thanks for all your content. Thank you. Julie. Kayla, yes. LVP at Lowe's, Home Depot, etc. Larry, howdy. Spokane, Eastern Washington, Coeur d'Alene, where it's either 10 degrees or 115 degrees. Melvin, howdy. Jamestown. Michelle, Howdy, any input on lease to rent option for a rental I want to eventually sell? That's the key. If you want to eventually sell, the thing I recommend is maybe not the last year's worth of content, but look up Kris Krohn, and it's with a K. K with a Chris, Krohn with a kiss. With a kiss. There you go. Kris Krohn. Krohn, is that his name? I'm all screwed up now.
Yeah, it's Krohn.
But Krohn.
Yes.
His method for the first 7 years of his YouTube content was buy a property, fix it up, put a tenant in place, and then seller finance it. You're selling it to the tenant. So they give you a bit of a down payment. They pay more than what rent would be. And all problems with the property are the tenants because they're buying it. If they ever default, it comes back to you. So Kris Krohn has the information I would look for if that was a strategy I was going for. Matt, have you ever done any lease to owns with your tenants?
Not that smart. Nope.
Yeah, so I would go to and study Kris Krohn. But look up everything older than a year. This last year, he's gotten really big. This happens when your YouTube channel gets really huge. It makes sense to syndicate. So a lot of people go that way. And I watch his videos because he's super high energy. He makes real estate investing interesting, right? How do you do that? Trying. So, but I think it's a great strategy if your intent is to sell. My intent is to buy and hold forever, like better than my marriages, until death do we actually part.
Yeah, his idea, I think it's a pretty smart strategy. His idea is, I don't want to ever do maintenance there. I don't want to do a roof. I don't want to do a heating system. I don't want to do windows. I want to replace siding. I want to own the asset, have somebody else take care of it. I get money for 7 years. And then it's a little bit of a gamble on the appreciation side. However, it is a strategy. And it's one that I don't see the real downside to it.
No, I don't see the downside as long as you're okay with letting go of properties.
Exactly. I'm not emotionally prepared for that.
Selling 3K square foot single family house in mom's estate through 730,000. It'll be under list price by 20K. Probably will close end of next month. Living room rentals till I buy something to house hack. Buy units and buy rooms. Yeah, or both possibly. Cool. That's awesome. Million. Howdy. Flooring. Do you buy and handyman install or give it to contractor flooring company? It depends on your handyman. I have one who's a savant. I've with flooring, and I've had him do LVP and had him do carpet. So if you don't have a handyman that's good at that, maybe try a smaller project first, then go with a contractor. But just like when you're hiring any contractor, reviews mean everything. So if you have the handyman already, great. If not, I find my handyman at local REI meetups, which I'm hoping to maybe run into some tonight. It never hurts to have more. But I don't know if you're aware of that, Matt. I've only got like another 10 to
7
minutes or so. Okay.
Oh, 13 minutes. Okay.
There we go. Chester, absolutely the way the market moves, decrease in transactions, increase in supply, an increase in days on market, and a moderation in price increase.
Yes.
And look for that motivated seller. Yes. Howdy, Tony. Jeremy, had a heartbreaking off-market deal fall through. That sucks, to be honest. 3 months installed, 250,000 quadplex. Someone else found out, sold at 262. Lesson learned: strike first, carry $100,000 for a deal. Be ready for the next deal. Yep. Chester, good evening. Howdy to the lumberjack. Let me get through and see if there's any questions here. Howdy, Rob. Matt, are you retired yet?
Still not retired. It says right there on the screen. Who's not paying attention?
How about now? I like Rob's point there.
Yes.
Panther.
Rob,
Yes.
all you need to know, Rob, is I'll be retired before you.
Oh, that would be good. Is there a way?
Hey, Dion, I think this might be the first. I'm literally signing a PNS right now.
First on live.
Live YouTube. Certainly for the Three Amigos. Yeah, I'm literally signing a PNS right now.
Cool.
Signed.
This is in for Rob.
It's awesome.
No, I don't have to send it to you today.
Exact perfection. I love it.
Okay. Where was I at here? Okay. First the Panther. Julie. Lowe's is way faster for flooring. Buy a great brand. Sorry, Matt. Yeah, so your local Lowe's. I've learned recently that there are about 6 Lowe's within driving distance of my rentals, and there is one that has a person who's good with blinds. The other 6, you can't get good help there for blinds to save your life. So there's one I'll drive all the way to out of my way. So know your local market when it comes to Lowe's and Home Depot too. Okay, North Colorado Dawn. Holy crap, we get out of the Three Amigos. Get 2 of the Three Amigos. There you go. LV Teach Me. Glad you're wearing pants. I was glad to see that you had them when we left the room. Angie, cool, awesome. Got your name close. Cody, howdy. LV Teach Me. Dion, I should have known you are a Marine, retired soldier here. Awesome. Nice. I was at a comedian the other day, and he did this awesome thing, which I won't do the whole skit here, but he called out to the Marines, and of course we said, you know, hoorah, and then he called out to the Army, and they said hooah, and he said Navy, hi. It was amazing. Okay. Claude, howdy. Hey Matt, awesome content, and I can tell you have the heart in the right place. Keep giving. Thanks from Charlotte, North Carolina. I agree. Chester, the good thing and the secret about real estate investing meetups is you and the other people in the meetup have something in common. Agreed. LV Teach Me. Good tip. Keep the door open on an offer. Always, yeah. Because it's good just to get the feedback on what actually happened. And sometimes the deal falls through and you find out it fell through because so many things popped up in the inspection that the buyer was like, I'm not doing it. Well, now you know there's some things to look for.
This was the one that she played rope-a-dope with me for 4 days until she got a cash offer from somebody else that was her buyer.
I remember that now. Yes.
Yeah, he DQ'd. Yep.
So where does that stand now? Did you tell her, I think you're mentally challenged, but I'm still willing to work with you because it's a good deal?
So I had my broker deliver that message.
Okay.
Where it was basically, hey, real quick, we're going to resubmit an offer. You have until 1 p.m. tomorrow because we're not letting you play any games. And if you get another offer, ours is immediately off the table because we're not going to let you say it's multiple offer situation. How's that for negotiating technique? I just let out my greatest secret.
That's not your greatest secret.
No, I know. That's true.
Chester, I am seeing so many deal fell through. Buyer did not perform on financing listings on the MLS now. It's not even funny. Maybe it doesn't alone today. Yeah, I'm seeing a few in my area too. I'm seeing back on market without detail, but then the agents are finding out. Jeremy, to Julie, where is it? I'm always buying. I have to sell to buy your dream property. Awesome, Julie. Robert, howdy. I'm able to make it today. I'm glad you made it, even though it's going to be a short live stream. We only have a few minutes left, so I'm hoping if there's any other questions that come in quick. Surf Marco, howdy. Okay, in Bend, nice. I have a friend who bought a duplex in Bend. We did a deal deep delve. I forget which number it was though. The important thing to know about Bend is since you're in Oregon, there are, what do they call it? Rent control laws. Unless it's small multifamily and you are owner occupying, there might be some other ways where rent control doesn't apply to you, making the binder strategy something you can use there. And then Kelly took back a message to make me lose sleep tonight. Happens every week. Somebody does it. LV Teach Me. As a buyer, I like seller financing too. Also, a number of benefits for seller include not responsible for maintenance, taxes, etc., as well as a tax benefit. And the fact that you own a note. If you're the buyer on seller finance, or if you're the seller, the owner can sell the note. It's registered with the county. It's just a performing note, just like a mortgage is with the bank. So if you ever wanted the money all at once, or most of it all at once, you could in the future sell the note. Robert, when you talk about diversifying your tenant base, what is your blend and what do you think is optimal? That's the best way to put it because there's not an exact number. I try to have 1/3 working or retired. So they have jobs at local economic drivers, like a college, a base, a hospital, a port, or not, like they work there. They're not in the military. So that's 1/3. 1/3 I want from Section 8. And that's hard to do sometimes because they fall behind on rents. If Section 8 falls far enough behind on rents, I will increase the number of military or working and retired. The goal is to have 1/3 of each and then 1/3 with the military. And it would be illegal to advertise, I only want working or retired people. I only want Section 8 tenants. I only want military. You can't exclude people because of certain reasons, right? But you can control where you advertise. If I have a unit open up and I want someone from the military in there and I advertise on base, who do you think I'm going to get? If I call the housing authority and I say, hey, I have a unit opening up next Tuesday and this is the link to it, that's how you do that. So it's not a perfect science, but I like that diversification. So you're ready for a pandemic, stock market crash, prolonged government shutdown, like all the things that can impact it are only going to impact one of those. So Matthew, howdy. You are late, but that's okay. You can go back and watch it on double speed to catch up. We're almost done though. Gotta get out of here in like 4 minutes. Larry, is homeowner allowed to be at location during a home inspection phase? Almost always, because you're paying for the inspection and the inspection is to protect you. Sometimes you're not allowed at the appraisal phase in some areas. In my area, I've been at almost all of them. You try not to, coerce the appraiser, but you can share things if they're willing to talk. Like here's the comps I used, here's the rents I'm using for comps. I mean, all that kind of information, you can share it. If they don't want to talk to you, don't push it, because the appraiser is to protect the lender. They don't really technically work for you. You pay for it, but they're there to protect the lender. I also like to be there for the home inspection. I try not to go through every room like the inspector. You're going to get a 70 to 100 page report anyways with pictures, but I like to interact with the tenants a little.
Yes.
Ask them, what is something big you would fix? Or, just get that feel for how that relationship's going to start, because you haven't closed yet. I haven't had one go so bad yet that I would back out of the deal, but I did find out actually, that's not true. I found out from one tenant that their rent was higher because they didn't do a deposit. And over the first year, they were doing more in each rent. And they expected their rent to go down $200 or $300 as soon as the lease renewed. That was not disclosed by the seller. That was the one time I backed out for like a bunch of other things, but that was in that same deal.
Wow.
So, okay. Chester, curious. Would you, Matt and Zuber, mind doing a Three Amigos of Phi style? We are doing a live stream on Zuber's channel for at least an hour. That's kind of the test of this technology. We've done this once before on Matt's.
New Year's Day.
New Year's Day. Was it New Year's Day? I knew it was a holiday.
Yep.
So we need to do that. We're going to do it on Mike's channel. I think we should do it on Mike's channel for the Graham Stephan video where
Yeah.
I think it'll be great because we can get people on it. So maybe a message live. You never know. LV Teach Me. Teaching a good workaround through when and where to advertise. Perfect. Cool. So this was a nice short live stream. Again, if you come back on Tuesdays, it's usually here for at least 3 hours. I might pick a different day of the week. I don't know. That's my email. Matt, you can put your email in there if you want to, or whatever, if you want people to reach out. Matt's live streams are Sunday mornings, 11:30 while he's working. We'll see what happens when that changes.
Yes.
Eventually.
It will change.
Not today.
Will change.
Cool. So thanks, Michelle. You're listening to Kris Krohn. Since this morning, when I started thinking of this option for the house, I didn't end up selling and going to rent. So options: lease to rent, short-term rental, nurses. Perfect. Yeah, he's got great information. I haven't taken his course, don't recommend it or anything. I don't know that it's good or bad, so it's not a plus or minus, but I know his YouTube content is great.
Yeah.
So
I like Kris. Yep.
Okay. Well, we are going to wrap it up there for tonight. And if anybody is here from the Olympia Facebook group, I look forward to meeting you at about an hour from now. So until my next video, until mine and Matt's next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk. So we're still here, I think, on Zoom. I don't think we're